we've been engaging in the 3 learning styles and how to teach those 3 learning styles. I don't want you to think that one lesson is just going to be geared towards your thinking learners. The other lesson will be geared just towards your doing learners. Now, it's a lot like driving. When you first started driving, you said, I've got to turn on a turn signal. I've got to look in my mirrors. I've got to turn the steering wheel, let go of the brake, all those things. And then as you became more of a skillful driver, you realized that you were able to do several things in one motion. For example, if I want to make a turn, then I'm going to turn on my turn signal, but I'm also looking at my gauges while I'm doing that. If I'm going to look at my side view mirror, I'm going to swipe across my rear view as I'm doing that. So it's more in the fact that you are scanning as you're driving, and teaching synergistically is the same way. So what are ways that you can, in one lesson, engage all 3 of your learning styles? Well, that's going to be our last lesson. So let's talk about some teaching. So these past 3 weeks, we've been looking at the 3 different learning styles. And each of these learning styles are unique in and of themselves. But now we're going to focus in on you as a teacher. How are you going to be able to take these 3 and move them into one, a 3-in-1 type of teacher? Well, let's talk about this word called synergy. Synergy is when you take different components, unique in and of themselves, and bring them together to create one better whole. 3 individual parts in this case, now to one better whole. And you are a teacher with synergy. Here's what this looks like. We still have our thinking circle. We still have our doing circle. And we still have our feeling circle. Here is the area that we're going to be looking at right here. You are a teacher of synergy. Here's what we want to do. We want to ask ourselves the same questions we asked when we're talking about the students. What is most important to you as a teacher of synergy? I want you to know the truth.
Remember, it's better to tell the truth.
And that's no lie. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Here's 3 truths that I want you to know. I want you to know where you're going. I want you to know what your role is, and I want you to know where your source is. So here's the first part. Where are you going as a teacher? So what does it mean to know where you're going? What that means is that when you're working with your lesson, you're working with your lesson ahead of time. And you're thinking about your entire class. You're thinking about the students in your class, the life that they're living, and you're asking yourself the question, how is my lesson going to impact that class? When you prepare ahead of time, you allow the lesson to live with you. What that means is, as you are going through the principles of your lesson, God is going to be working in your own life, and He's going to be showing you the principles that you're learning. And so when you teach it, you're learning something from your life, not from any words in a book. It's from your life because you've lived with it. You've let God work in you through the lesson. What that also means is that when you're confronted in your class with the rabbit trails, with the examples that the class is going to bring on their own, with even the questions that might challenge the ideas that you're presenting in your lesson, if you know where you're going, then all those things can actually be directed into the point of the lesson. Not being afraid of those challenging questions, not being afraid of those alternate illustrations, and not being afraid of those rabbit trails, because when you know where you're going, those things can actually be pointed towards what you're going. So know where you're going. What is your role? I want you to know how awesome your role is. And there are 3 different areas to this role. You're a teacher. You know, I think about this. We all need to learn. We're not born with this information. Even as Christians, when we become a Christian, God didn't download all the information that we need. We need to be taught. And God called you to be that teacher. The other role that you have is you as a minister. You're living life with your class. You're offering things that they don't have. You're giving yourself to this class. You are ministering to heartfelt needs. You're ministering to the needs of life. You're drawing your class together to meet needs. You are ministering to your class. The other role that you have as a teacher is that you are a leader. What that means is that you're the first one to take the step. You're the first one to take the step of transparency in your own lesson. You're the first one to offer your time, your resources. You are inspiring your class by taking the first step. You are a leader. Your role in your class is so important as a teacher, as a minister, and as a leader. And the third thing I want you to know is your source. We've already talked about you as this role. So how are you going to do all of this? Well, then I want you to know the source. Because if you are going to be the teacher, if you are going to be the minister, if you're going to be the leader, how you accomplish these three things, you only do this through knowing your source. I want you to see these roles here, and I want you to see now as Jesus as the synergist. And look at what Jesus did, because he, as your source, he is your model. He is your helper. He is your guide. What this means is that Jesus as your model, helper, and guide, he is the one who is the master teacher. He is the prophet. Your source is the master prophet, the one who can truly connect hearts and the hearts together, the heart of God and the heart of his people together. He does it, and he's your source. There's nothing you can't do as a teacher then. Now let's look at minister. What does this mean to be a minister? Jesus is our priest. He's the priest, and he's your source. Only Jesus can minister truly into our hearts. He can go into the very core of who we are and minister. And that priest is your source. What about leader? Jesus is our king. Jesus is our king. What that means is he is the one who has always taken the first step. He's the one who offered his life to us first. He's the one who's offered every resource he has to us first. And he is your source. He's the leader. He's the king. He's the prophet, the priest, and the king. That's your source. When you think about that model, and he's your helper and he's your guide, when you're preparing for your lesson, when you're looking at your role and you're understanding your source, everything is possible in your class. I am so excited that we were able to cover these four things together, and especially end on such a powerful note as this. I am praying for you, and I am excited to be a part of your ministry. And now we're going to be looking into the Christmas season coming up. We want to take our classes to understand the power of the Christmas season, because Jesus truly is everything.